and that is what we want to concentrate on. So the types of communicable diseases, we have common ones that have a direct source, and then we have propagated ones that have a transmitted source. But communicable diseases are classified. There's a classification of communicable diseases. We have contact diseases, the one that one acquires via contact, like scabies, even bed bugs, yes, these fungal infections, skin infections, helminth disease, those are contact communicable diseases. Helminthic diseases like ascariasis or trichurias, hookworm. Trichuria is whipworms, isn't it? Ascaris is what? Yeah. Those ones are acquired via contact. Those are contact diseases. So that is one class or one classification of communicable diseases, contact. Then we have airborne communicable diseases. These ones are acute respiratory infections. Like, they can be, we have a variety of these respiratory infections. We have pneumonia, TB, meningitis, etc., even COVID. And then we have zoonotic, although COVID is more of contact. But some research have also showed that it can also be airborne. Then we have zoonotic diseases. These are spread via animals, okay? Disease of contact with animals. These are referred to as zoonotic diseases or animal products. They are spread via animals or animal products, like taking contaminated milk. You can have brucellosis, tetanus, rabies, anthrax, etc. So those are zoonotic. So we have mentioned three: contact disease, airborne disease, zoonotic disease, and then we have sexually transmitted diseases. Sexually transmitted diseases, for example, syphilis, gonorrhea, venereal warts, herpes, candidiasis, HIV, all that. Those are also, that's another route of transmission of communicable diseases, or a classification of communicable diseases. Then, the final one are diseases that are caused via fecal oral contamination. Fecal oral contamination. For example, cholera, dysentery, amoeba, what we usually refer to as food poisoning, that is usually caused by what? H. pylori, Helicobacter pylori, etc. Those are fecal oral contamination, the route. So they are classified by the route of transmission. So, but communicable diseases have a common characteristics, what I refer to as characteristics of importance. So this is just in general. One thing is that they are very common, okay? They are common that some people think normal of these diseases, like harboring ascariasis, the worms and all that. If you go to the slum or this informal settlement, you'll find people thinking it is normal to have worms, okay? That is because these diseases are so common. Some of them are very serious that can cause death or even disability, okay? While some of them can cause epidemics, the outbreak, and that is dangerous to the communities around us. And then most of them are the good thing is that the good thing with communicable diseases, most of them are preventable by very simple interventions. Imagine being told to just wash your hands. That is all you need. Constantly wash your hands, you know. So they are very preventable. get people to execute what they need to do this measure. To observe those preventive measures. Many of the communicable diseases affect infants and children. Yeah, so they are easily spread via children and infants. So I want to look at another small topic, which I call disease transmission. What is disease transmission? Okay, we continue. Disease transmission. A very simple, just like the name, to transmit. Somebody is typing. Anybody with a question? Good. I hope I am still clear. So, already after the lecture, and I will also send you the links via your class rep. So let's look at disease transmission. Disease transmission process has three components. Just like we have the host, the environment, and the agent, we also have three components of disease transmission. We have what we refer to as the source. There has to be a source. The source of a disease is the origin of disease. Where is it coming from? So the origin of the disease-causing organism, the origin, we refer to that as the source. This could be, the origin could be infected person, the animal, the place, or an object, So that is one component. I hope we are clear. The source. The source is the origin of the disease-causing agent. Okay. Then we have what we refer to as the transmission route. Transmission route is the main route of transmission. It could be via direct contact, for example, sexual contact. It could be via vectors like mosquitoes. That is a transmission route. It could be via fecal, oral, or ingestion of contaminated food or water. That is a transmission route. It could be airborne. It could be via the the placenta. We call that transplacental route, from the mother to the fetus, so that we have a sick mother transmitting the disease or the infection to the fetus. Placental route. Transmission could also be through blood contact, blood transfusion, or during surgery, or during injection, for laboratory scientists, etc., etc. So blood contact, that is a transmission route. We can also have contact with animals, the one that causes zoonotic diseases or their products that are infected. Then that is a transmission route. So those are different examples of disease transmission route. So for a disease transmission to occur, we have the source, that is the origin of the disease-causing agent, and then we have a route that agent needs to follow to infect what? The third thing, now that we have the source and the transmission route, the third thing should be what? The third thing should be the host. So the agent follows a route to the host. So a susceptible host, not just any host. A susceptible host is a vulnerable host. This is an individual who has low resistance to a particular disease. So the agents will not just invade anybody's system, but a susceptible host, an individual who has low resistance to a particular disease. This may be due to various factors. Factors such as lack of previous contact with the disease, hence no immune response. You know that if an individual has had a contact with a disease-causing agent previously, the body's immune system generates an immune response that is able to last that individual protection for some time, such that the second encounter is not usually as severe as the first encounter particular disease. So if an individual hasn't had contact with a particular disease-causing agent previously, then they are susceptible, they are vulnerable, because that contact, even though is usually detrimental, it builds up an immunity that is able to protect in the second encounter. So lack of previous contact, no immune response, that is a susceptible host. A host that is on immunosuppressive or is having immunosuppressive illnesses such as HIV, AIDS, that is a susceptible host. That's a vulnerable host. Anything that attacks the immune system makes a host vulnerable. An individual who is feeding poorly, that is an individual experiencing malnutrition, is a vulnerable host, a susceptible host. An individual who is under some kind of medication, there are some drugs that may interfere with the immunity of an individual, making that individual susceptible. So those are the three components of disease transmission: the source, the transmission route, and the susceptible host. Control measures. How do we control these diseases? There is no definite control measure that is universal to all diseases. Each and every communicable diseases has its own unique source, and therefore unique route of transmission and a unique host. And therefore, there can't be one way of controlling all communicable diseases. Okay? But the principle of control and prevention should be geared towards attacking the source of the disease-causing organism. If we can attack the source, then we can deal with the agent, okay? Or interrupting the transmission cycle in any way. This is why we slash bushes. This is why we sleep under nets and all that kind of stuff. This is why we wash hands, to interrupt the transmission, to interrupt the transmission cycle of the agent of a disease, and then protecting the susceptible host. Those are the three ways of controlling. You attack the source, you interrupt the transmission cycle, and protect. But there's no one unique way. Every one of these communicable diseases are unique in their ways, in their sources, and also in their routes of transmissions. So, for example, again, let's look at the case of malaria. In the case of malaria, if you attack the source, you do that by clearing and spraying mosquitoes, breeding sites. And then if you are to interrupt the transmission route, you do that by spraying and killing the mosquitoes and the causative organism, okay? So the source, you spray the breeding sites. Transmission route, you spray the mosquitoes themselves, okay? And then protecting the susceptible host, we do this by giving prophylactic medication or by sleeping under mosquito nets. That's just an example of how to control measures for malaria. Then I want us to look at, finally, for today, what I refer to as stepwise process in outbreak, in epidemic outbreak. How to investigate, stepwise process in investigating an epidemic. So, epidemic. So this that was a process, step-by-step process in outbreak or epidemic investigation. When we talk of outbreak, we refer to epidemic. When we talk of epidemic, we are referring to an outbreak. So we have 11 easy that I will just mention very fast as we go up. The first step of investigating an outbreak is to confirm what